In the next few seconds, everything you feel as a Warriors fan will be directly confronted. If you're tired of empty rumors, frustrated negotiations, and the feeling that other teams always have the upper hand, stay here, because today is different. A reliable source has confirmed that the Warriors just stole the biggest prize on the market, and that completely changes the course of the season. If you ever doubted the front office, whoever thought the window was closing, you will understand why this move puts the team back on the path to major disputes. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you what happened, why this hits exactly the pain that the fans were feeling, and how this step could be the solution that everyone was waiting for. Before continuing, a quick request that makes all the difference to our work, and so you don't miss any important updates from the Warriors. Subscribe to the channel now, leave a like because this shows YouTube that this content is important to you, and activate the bell to receive everything firsthand. Since you're here, it's because you really care about the team, so participate with us. Comment what you're feeling about this bombshell, because I'm reading everything. Do it now and come back, because what comes next explains exactly why this news changes the Warriors' future. At Christmas, when many people were distracted by dinner, the Golden State Warriors took to the court with a type of energy that couldn't be hidden. From the first possessions, you could feel that there was something different that night. The posture was different, the concentration was different. The ball didn't stop in anyone's hands. It ran from one side to the other. The cuts without the ball had purpose. The blocks were firm, and the attack flowed naturally, without that feeling of something forced or desperate that so often marked the beginning of this season. Before you even realized it, the scoreboard already told a very clear story. 40 points in the first quarter. But the most important thing was not the number itself, but the way in which they appeared. It wasn't an irresponsible rain of threes. It wasn't crazy shots falling by chance. It was control. It was rhythm. Trust was built possession by possession. Each attack seemed to have an idea behind it. Each reading seemed thought out. When the period ended, the advantage already seemed stable. And the most curious thing is that, even when the break arrived and the difference was not absurd, whoever was watching had the feeling that the game was under the Warriors' control. On the other hand, the Dallas Mavericks always seemed to be chasing something they could never truly achieve. The scoreboard even pointed to a competitive game at times, but the feeling was different. Every time Dallas rehearsed a reaction, a calm response came without rushing, without panic. A good designed play, a precise cut, an intelligent infiltration, an extra pass at the right time. It was like watching a team that, for the first time in a long time, had a firm grip on the steering wheel from start to finish. This gains even more weight when we remember how this season started for the Golden State. Instability, doubts, nights when no one knew which version of the team would appear. It seemed like any game could slip through your fingers. Especially on the big stages, that historical confidence was no longer a guarantee. That's why winning at Christmas isn't just another result on the table. It's a message. It's a reminder that even in transition, this group still understands the size of the moment, and when they choose to truly focus, they can grow in the spotlight instead of shrinking. While the Golden State aligned collectively, there was also a special focus on one name on the other side, Cooper Flagg. Everything was designed to make it his night. Missing squad, Christmas game, national audience, and a Warriors that isn't exactly the most physical or tallest team in the league. It was the perfect recipe for a young talent to take the lead and leave an unforgettable mark. In terms of statistics, the performance was not bad. Acceptable numbers, constant production here and there. But you know that basketball isn't just about the box score. When we look closely, what was missing was not skill, but what separates a good player from a star on big nights: presence. In games like this, solid isn't enough. Christmas match is a showcase. It's the kind of game where the world needs to end the night knowing who you are. And Flagg, as competent as he was at times, didn't take the game into his own hands. There were clear situations of mismatch in which he could have been more aggressive, opportunities to attack the bottle without mercy, moments in which the path was open, and even then, hesitation came. Instead of imposing his physicality against a lower line, what was seen was a certain caution, almost as if he was more concerned with not making mistakes than with taking the risk of dominating. That it could be the result of age, the context of the team, the weight of the moment, or simply a less inspired night. But it's something that catches your eye. No one questions the talent, which is evident. The flashes appear, the specific plays remind us why there is so much expectation around the name. Only, in an environment built for big declarations, flashes are not what stays in memory. What stands out is the feeling that someone took the game for themselves, and that didn't happen. While Dallas tried to find a way, the Golden State did exactly the opposite. It embraced its collective identity. Even without an absurd rain of three-pointers, the team found alternatives. Cuts towards the basket, well-executed counterattacks, extra passes that dismantled the defense, patience to work possession until the right shot appears. It wasn't a perfect show, but it was a functional team, which knew how to adapt to what the game asked for. Even so, a problem that has been with this team for a long time has reappeared: dependence on the perimeter. The volume of three-pointers was high, but the drop didn't keep up. And it is precisely in this mismatch between quantity and efficiency that the risks begin to grow. That Golden State that could miss 10 balls in a row and still kill 10 more and turn the game around is no longer exactly the same. The cast, the age, the moment, everything changed. But the habit of living and dying in the line of three still persists. In several possessions, you could clearly see the open corridors towards the basket, spaces for a medium-range shot, the possibility of infiltrating, forcing a foul, collapsing the defense. Instead, the ball would often come back out, spin until it stopped on a contested shot from distance, without rhythm. And when this type of decision is repeated, it is not just the attack that suffers. The defense also pays the price. Poorly chosen long shots generate long rebounds, imbalance in transition, numerical advantage for the opponent. It all starts with a decision made a second before. The contrast becomes even clearer when we remember what happened on the few possessions in which the team decided to attack the paint. There, the game was calmer, more controlled, more efficient. Infiltrations generated contact, free throws, doubles that opened up kickers in the corners. It looked like another team. All it took was 2 or 3 dribbles into the arc for the Dallas defense to have to react, move, give up some space. At these times, it's difficult not to wonder why this path isn't prioritized more often, since the current squad doesn't have exactly the same profile as that group that revolutionized the league by shooting from everywhere. This is where a delicate point comes in: self-awareness. Champion habits can become traps when reality changes, and no one accepts it. For years, the Warriors redefined the three-ball game. It changed numbers, statistics, and the way all teams see the court. But time passes, contracts change, players age, parts leave, others arrive. Blindly insisting on being who you were without looking at who you are today can be as dangerous as having no identity at all. On the other hand, there were signs of adjustment. The defensive effort, for example, was very different from what we saw at other times of the season. The help rotation arrived earlier, the coverages were faster, the closeouts were more controlled, without jumping into every feint. There was a clear collective willingness to protect the ball based on reading and intensity, as the team does not, by nature, have a giant intimidating in the middle. Even so, the lack of a real rim protector is still glaring. At several moments, a single big player on the other side, without scary numbers on the scoreboard, managed to impact the game with simple things: positioning, pushing in the box out, contesting without making a foul, disturbing any attempt at an easy layup. These are details that, for many people, go unnoticed, but for those who watch the game closely, they make the difference between a defense that merely competes and a defense that truly controls space. This goes straight back to the discussion that has been around Warriors for some time: squad building. The team today needs more of someone who reliably clears the rebound and who is truly intimidating inside than just another inconsistent shooter on the perimeter. This lack appears even in victories. Against elite teams, it doesn't just appear. It is exploited to the limit. Solving this hole is not a luxury, it is a necessity. At the same time, it was impossible not to notice how the leadership on the court manifested itself in a quieter, more mature way. It wasn't about shouting, exaggerated gestures, or scenes for the camera. It was leadership in reading rhythm, knowing when to accelerate, when to hold the ball, when it's time to spend more seconds on the clock, when a quick shot can be poison. Was leadership in choosing not to force Joe heroic plays when the game called for calm. The bank also played an important role, not because someone came out of there scoring 30 points, but because this time the energy didn't drop when the starters sat down. The rotations were sustained, the defensive standard remained acceptable, the attack did not collapse. For a long season, this type of invisible consistency counts for more than many people realize. This is what prevents small fluctuations from turning into major crises. Of course, not everything was perfect. At times, it was clear that communication still failed, especially in defensive exchanges. Players pointing, arriving late, confusing markers. Against a sharper team, those same mistakes would have been costly. Correcting this involves repetition, clarity of function, recognition that the margin for simple errors has greatly diminished. And as if the physical part were not enough, there is also the mental layer. Winning gives back confidence, but it can also anesthetize those who don't know how to look at their own defects. The big challenge now is exactly this, taking advantage of the positive aspects of this performance without sweeping under the carpet everything that still needs to be improved. Real growth comes from facing problems, not from pretending they disappeared because the final score was favorable. This sequence of games for Golden State is an opportunity to redefine its own face. The dynastic version, which ran roughshod over the league and always seemed one step ahead, belongs to another time. Insisting on living from that past only delays evolution. The path now involves finding a more balanced way of playing, valuing each possession more than each shot, and protecting the defense before chasing records for three-pointers. In the midst of all this, while the team tries to find its feet on the court, there is another narrative unfolding behind the scenes and stirring the imagination of everyone who follows the league. Strong rumors began to circulate, not like those rumors thrown to the wind, but like consistent whispers coming from well-placed people within the NBA. According to a source considered extremely reliable, the Warriors may have just won the biggest battle on the market this season. The information for now is surrounded by secrecy. Nothing official, no bombastic announcements, no emergency press conference. But the volume of conversations, the behind-the-scenes movement, the way analysts began to point out small signs, all of this has been fueling the feeling that something big has been sown in silence. When looking at the last few weeks, it makes sense. Discrete moves, small rotation changes, careful looks at certain players, signs that the front office was studying the scenario much more carefully than it seemed. The version that is gaining strength is that it is not just a good decision, but a victory in one of the most competitive auctions in the league. Several teams, all important, fighting for the same target, trying to adjust contracts, picks, young talents. In the midst of this, Golden State would have found the right combination of timing, boldness, and intelligence to strike at the right time. If true, we are not talking about just any name. Insiders speak of someone with experience in big games, title pedigree, ability to arrive, and immediately raise the competitive ceiling of the squad. It's natural for imagination to go far. Would a center be capable of protecting the rim and solving the team's main vulnerability? A perimeter veteran with a leadership profile, ready to share responsibilities in decisive moments? A versatile player who fits exactly into the tactical gaps that the team has been showing? While nothing is confirmed, social networks are filled with lists, montages, inflammatory opinions, and projections of how this market prize would change the balance of forces at the conference. Analysts have already started debating possible scenarios. Some see a movement as the line that separates a competitive team from a true title contender. Others point to the risk of betting heavily on yet another veteran name in a squad that already carries the experience and wear and tear of years at the top. But the common point between all readings is one. If the Warriors really won this battle, the impact will be immediate, not just on the court, but in how the rest of the league reacts. analysts. Because, like it or not, when the Golden State really moves, the ricochet effect is real. Other teams need to reorganize plans, rethink targets, adjust future projections. The NBA map silently redraws itself. And all of this could be happening right now, at the exact moment when the team is starting to find a little of itself on the court. For now, what exists is a mix of expectation and anxiety. The crowd watches every interview, every expression, every seemingly harmless comment in search of clues. Could it be that the reinforcement is that name that has been speculated for months? Or someone that no one sees coming? The only certainty is that if this biggest prize on the market actually lands in San Francisco, the rest of the season will take on a whole new meaning. Christmas, then, is no longer just the night in which the Warriors controlled an important game from start to finish. It becomes the milestone of something bigger, the moment in which the team showed, on the court and behind the scenes, that it is still not willing to accept a secondary role in the league. And it's up to you, who follows everything closely, to decide together with this team which story will be told from now on, that of the end of an era or that of the reinvention of a franchise that refuses to be just a memory of the past. What if everything that's happening now is just the beginning? If this victory at Christmas, this change of attitude on the court, and these heavy behind-the-scenes rumors are, in fact, the silent warning that the Golden State Warriors are about to turn the tables again in front of everyone? The feeling is clear. Either the league prepares for a reinvented Warriors, more mature, more strategic, and at the same time as dangerous as the one that already dominated the top. Or it will be run over without understanding where the turnaround came from. Because when a team with this history decides to correct its own mistakes, accept its own weaknesses, and, on top of that, win the biggest battle in the market, we are not just talking about adjustment. We are talking about a change of level. If you want to follow every step of this possible reconstruction of power, understand every movement, every rumor, every game that confirms or denies this new phase, you can't leave here without going to the next level. Once this video ends, go straight to the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist in the pinned comment. There I gather all the daily updates, the most complete analyses, and the behind-the-scenes details that tie this entire story together. Don't leave it for later. Click on the playlist, marathon the videos, and stay up to date with everything that can transform the future of the Warriors before your eyes.